Hi, Mr. Rose. This is Mike Dyer, WCPO. How you doing?
How you doing, Mike? How you doing?
Sorry, Mr. Morgan. My condolences to you.
Yeah, he was a great friend, a rock as far as a ball player, a rock as far as a father or a husband. He fit all the criteria for that, and we'll miss him. I mean, he went through hell the last couple of years. You know, with this or that. And when I used to do card shows with him, he wasn't Joe. He just didn't feel good. His knee hurt him, couldn't walk. But he always had pretty good spirits. And I guess the last couple months, he was really, really sick to the standpoint he didn't really want to talk to anybody. You know, because his birthday was a month ago or so. I called him, texted him, and he didn't answer. And that wasn't really Joe, because every time I called him, he called me right back the next hour. And he just, his wife called me at 6:30 this morning in my time. I'm in Vegas, and said he died yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And she had a hard time calling me and Johnny and Mr. Castellini of the Reds and all the people that were important to him in his life.
Is he living out in California?
No, I live in Las Vegas.
No, I mean, was Mr. Morgan living out in California then?
Well, he lived in Oakland. Yeah, he lived in Oakland.
Gotcha. Do you remember the last time you were able to connect with him? I mean, I know he's been sick a while.
I saw him. I don't know when it was. 3-4 months ago at a card show.
Sure.
Be honest with you, that's the only time that I've seen Joe or Johnny or Tony as at card shows over the past 10 years.
Sure.
And we used to do a lot of them because, you know, we were all members of the Big Red Machine.
And, how special was that camaraderie with the Great Eight? I mean, over the years, even in recent years.
Oh, it was, you know, I'll never get on anybody's show and say we were the best team ever. But one thing I have been saying over the years is we were the most entertaining team ever. I mean, we had batting champions, we had stolen base champions, we had home run champions, we had RBI champions, we had catcher, first, second base, shortstop, center field, Golden Glovers. I mean, we had a flamboyant manager in Sparky. So we had the complete package as far as entertaining fans.
How would you describe his play? Not only, you know, offensively, but defensively.
Oh, he was the best. I mean, he was the most intelligent player I ever played with. You know, he was a little bit like me in this respect that there's guys that played that had more ability than me or more ability than Joe. But because of the way he approached the game and understood the game and played the game, he was the best, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
He just was very intelligent, and he applied himself in that respect. You know, it's one thing being a baseball player, but it's another thing being a smart baseball player. And Joe was the smartest. He was very intelligent baseball-wise, and that made him stand above everybody else.
I was able to talk to Mr. Griffey this morning. He said he could have stole as many bases as he wanted to, but he always stole under pressure. And he said he kind of emulated.
Well, yeah, that was one of the amazing things about little Joe is when he used to steal bases in clutch situations. It used to amaze me that everybody in the world knew he was going to steal the base, and he still stole it. I mean, the catcher knew, the pitcher knew, the opposing manager knew, I knew. The shortstop knew, the second baseman knew, but he still steal the base. He didn't steal bases just to pad his stats or to steal bases. He stole bases because it meant something for that particular game. Never forget that about him.
Back-to-back MVP years in 75 and 76. I know there was a ton of talent on that in those teams. But I mean, was he the spark plug really for your team?
Well, it's hard to say anybody's a spark plug because Johnny was MVP in 70 and 72.
Sure.
So that's 2 times. I was MVP in 73. Joe was certainly important because,
Yeah. In those years, I guess I meant.
But Joe was certainly important because of how he played and where he hit in the batting order and how he played. But Tony was important too. We had a lot of guys that were important on that ball club, and Joe just happened to be the very best the 2 years he won the MVP.
Sure. About the trade that brought him over. How important is that to Reds history to have him arrive in Cincinnati?
Well, we did win in 1970, but we lost the World Series. Then, of course, I think Joe came. When did Joe come in? 70 or 71?
Yeah, 71. Yep, 71.
So, but we didn't start really winning until 72 when we went to the World Series against Oakland. Then we went 73. I had a real good year, and then 75. Joe had a really good year, and we won the World Series. In 76, he had a real good year, and we won the World Series. But we had a lot of perennial all-stars on that team.
Sure. Is he the greatest second baseman in your mind?
In my eyes, he is. I don't know who I would compare him with. I mean, it's always interesting when you say who was the GOAT or who wasn't. But obviously, he's the best second baseman I ever played with.
Right.
And he's the best second baseman I ever played against. But I didn't play against some of those old-timers back in the American League, so I don't want to get into an argument about that.
Sure. Well, just off the field.
But I'll vote. If you got a vote, if you got a thing over there to vote, I'll vote for him. I'm at the top of the list.
Right. Just you mentioned it.
I'm sure Johnny would be the same, huh?
Right. What about just off the field? Him being a friend, and like you mentioned, just kind of just off the field, how much he was revered by his teammates.
Well, Joe was a little bit like me in this respect. That's why I spent so much time with him on the road, because Joe wasn't a drinker, nor was I, and we would go out to eat a lot on the road. Very few players, if any, spend time with their teammates when they're home, because they all got their families to go home to. Baseball players spend time with each other on the road because all you have is a hotel room to go back to. And I remember I used to go out all the time with Joe and Marty Brennan and me and Joe. And I'm sure Marty would have some good things to say about Joe, too.
Do you remember a particular dinner conversation that always sticks out in your mind?
No, just go out and eat. And after a game, most of the time, not before a game, because we went to the ballpark early.
Sure.
And, just talk baseball. I mean, just relax, have fun. I mean, not drinking, not worrying about going to a bar. I mean, Joe wasn't a bar guy. He didn't. I never saw Joe have a hard liquor drink.
Sure.
He was kind of a wine connoisseur.
Sure.
And that's just the way he was. He was class. He was a class guy.
I know, a lot of things prevent, with everything with the COVID stuff, Mr. Griffey mentioned this too, that, you can't really pay your respects like you normally would. I mean, how are you kind of?
Absolutely. I mean, that's, if you were going to have a funeral for Joe Morgan, you ought to have it in Yellowstone Park. That's how many people would be there. But unfortunately, with this damn virus we got, I doubt if any of us are going to really get to pay our respects to him.
Sure.
Because I talked to his wife this morning, and she didn't have a clear idea what was going to happen. And she told me yesterday at 4:00 p.m. he died. And she called me at 6:30 this morning.
Okay.
I guess she had trouble calling really good friends of his until this morning. And she said she called Johnny, and she called Mr. Castellini, and she called me, and she was going to call guys like Enos Cabell, who was real good friends with Joe from their Houston days. And I guess Enos is Joe communicated a lot the last month.
Is there anything else about Mr. Morgan, Mr. Rose, that you want to mention, or I think you covered a lot?
No, he just he made all of us better players.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, we made him a better player. You know, when he came from Houston, what he was Cesar Cedeno's teammate. And when he came to Cincinnati, he'd become a superstar because of his surroundings and because of his ability.
Sure.
But he worked hard. Very intelligent, very smart.
How are you doing otherwise? Mr. Rose doing well?
I hope so. You
Yeah.
never know with this virus.
I hear you.
You never know.
Be safe. Yeah, be healthy. And if you don't mind, I might use some of this for our coverage, so I appreciate it.
Well, you have a good day, okay?
Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Rose.
bye.
Take care.